Can any of you ever wonder if there is life other than on Earth? Well, what if I say that one of the most promising places to look for signs of life isn't on Mars, but on one of Jupiter's moons? Far from the warmth of our sun, where temperatures strike below zero and the vacuum of space overshadows, lies a world tidied with ice. Europa. Beneath this icy veil, scientists say, may be an ocean magnanimous and large, possibly over twice the volume of Earth's. But it's not just the water. It might be one of the best places to go find life beyond Earth. Today we're going to talk about the Europa Clipper mission, NASA's bold adventure to study this enigmatic satellite. Why do scientists just happen to be so ecstatic over Europa? How did such a bold mission come into being? What are some of the remarkable technologies at play in such an audacious question? Are we alone in the universe? Why Europa? What's so special about this frozen moon, which orbits a gas giant like Jupiter, that it is an attractive target for exploration? Well, it's all about what's inside. The surface of Europa is essentially a thick layer of ice, with scientists theorizing that below that ice lies a global ocean of liquid water. Where there's water, there may be life. In the 1990s, the NASA Galileo spacecraft gave the first clues about the ocean. Europa's magnetic field wobbled in ways that indicated a salty, liquid ocean under the ice was conducting electricity. On Earth, we found complete ecosystems of life around those deep sea vents, utterly independent of sunlight. Is something similar occurring on Europa? The idea for a dedicated flight to Europa has been kicking around NASA for decades, but making it a concrete mission wasn't all that easy. Back in the early 2000s, the close budgets put that mission on hold, but dreams never die. Scientists knew what Europa was capable of and so kept pushing. Finally, in 2015, NASA greenlit the Europa Clipper mission. It was designed to be the most detailed exploration of Europa ever attempted. And unlike missions that land, Clipper will orbit Jupiter, making nearly 50 flybys of Europa over several years. Let's take a closer look at the spacecraft itself. Europa Clipper is an engineering marvel that carries with it a suite of 9 scientific instruments designed to answer the critical questions about Europa's ocean, its ice shell, and any life that could lurk there. First, there is the ice-penetrating radar, which will plot out the thickness of Europa's ice shell and determine how deep the ocean beneath sits. Indeed, detecting these plumes of water is one of the very top goals for the mission. By flying through those plumes, Europa Clipper's mass spectrometer can analyze the vapor for the presence of organic molecules, the building blocks of life. Each instrument on board works in its own way toward one goal: to understand whether Europa has the potential conditions for life. But it's not all about the science, it's about the journey. The journey for Europa Clipper won't be a short one. This is scheduled to launch in 2024. But it would take another 6 years at the earliest before it reaches the orbit of Jupiter, making use of gravity assists from Earth and Mars to slingshot itself deeper into the solar system. Europa Clipper will reach its destination in 2030, entering an orbit around Jupiter where it will regularly fly by Europa on a regular basis to garner data. That is to keep the spacecraft well away from the intense radiation close to Europa, to not affect the sensitive instruments. During each flyby, Europa Clipper will skim over just 16 miles above Europa's surface. Can you imagine how great the view will be, the close-up images of those huge cracks and ridges on the ice? Each of these flybys will take us a bit closer to an answer about one of the really big questions: could life be here? Of course, the biggest question is, what do we want to learn? That could be the first step in finding life beyond Earth, if we find organic molecules or signs of hydrothermal activity. Even if we don't find life, Europa Clipper is going to teach us a lot about this mysterious moon. How its ocean works, how the ice moves, and what's happening beneath the surface. Someday, we might send robotic subs or even humans to explore Europa's ocean firsthand. And it will be Europa Clipper that truly will have paved the way. Europa Clipper is more than a mission to a far-off moon. It forms part of the greater human journey in the desire to understand our place in the universe. Are we alone? Might life have evolved elsewhere in our solar system? These are the questions that drive us to exploration, beyond the limits, and even into the unknown. The Europa Clipper mission is not only about the exploration of a cold and faraway moon but about expanding our knowledge of life as such. With every datum collected, we inch closer to answering possibly one of the most intriguing questions posed to humankind. If Europa's deep, dark ocean can host life, then life is possible in even more unimaginable places in the cosmos. That's why this mission is so exciting, and Europa has taken over the imagination of scientists, explorers, and dreamers all over the world. With Europa Clipper set to launch, we are at the threshold of a new era of discovery, an era that might forever change our understanding of the universe and our place within it. So, with days to go until this historic mission, let's remember, this isn't just about Europa. It is about the journey, the quest for answers, and searching for life beyond Earth. But the Europa Clipper also will be a great voyage of discovery, promising revelations certain to shed new light on worlds beyond Earth. While it is true that incredible discoveries await the Europa Clipper mission, challenges are not completely out of sight. The idea of sending a spacecraft that far away from Earth into such a deep radiation environment around Jupiter offers several obstacles. Radiation is one of the major risks. Europa is well within the strong magnetic field of Jupiter, where incoming radiation is several thousand times greater than that received on Earth. If unshielded, the sensitive instruments of Europa Clipper would fry in days. To protect Europa Clipper and its instruments, mission specialists have designed special radiation shielding. Even so, the spacecraft is going to have to be strategic, spending most of its time out of the most intense radiation zones and swooping in close to Europa only in short, bursting flybys. What the engineers have is a threading of the needle flying just close enough to Europa to gather data while minimizing exposure to deadly radiation emanating from Jupiter. This is a delicate balance but may prove to be key. With Europa, the shell can be tens of miles thick, but it is what's inside that's really sending the scientists a buzz. A deep liquid ocean that might be warmed by volcanoes on the rocky seafloor of this moon. Heated by tidal heating via Jupiter's gravitational pull, such an ocean could have hydrothermal vents not so different from those on the ocean floor of Earth. On Earth, such vents support a wealthy ecosystem without the requirement of sunlight. Could these sorts of life forms be hiding in Europa's ocean as well, which has been locked away for billions of years? Europa Clipper won't have the capability to peer at this ocean directly but will have tools that provide the next best thing. Using its ice-penetrating radar, it will map the thickness of the ice and search out places where the ocean may be communicating with the surface, yielding perhaps some clues about what's happening down below. For one thing, scientists want to know more about regions that appear to have thinner ice or, at least, places where plumes of water vapor seem to be shooting into space. By flying through those plumes, Europa Clipper could sample the ocean without landing. That said, it is a huge step onward in space exploration, but it's just the beginning. The data we collect will enable future missions possibly one day landing on Europa and even diving into its ocean. Picture this. A robotic lander to be deployed at Europa in the 2030s or the 2040s with a drill to bore through the ice and deploy a submersible into the ocean. It's not science fiction, this could well happen, and Europa Clipper is laying the foundation for it. Missions like these could give spectacular views of Europa's ocean, hidden from view, possibly with life forms that have evolved in total isolation for billions of years. Europa Clipper will shape not just the future of Europa exploration but that of other ocean worlds in our solar system, such as Saturn's moon Enceladus and Neptune's moon Triton. Think about the implications. And that would be if there is life in Europa's ocean, then that, potentially, may make life much more common in the universe than we ever considered. After all, if life can thrive in such extreme conditions here in our own solar system, then who's to say it can't exist on other planets and moons orbiting other stars? And with that said, thanks for watching Discovery Blaze, and until next time.